The road. That one word sums up 30 years of my life. Dark highways, the hum of my rig's engine like a giant metal heart under my feet, endless lane markers fading in my rear view. I thought I'd seen it all. I thought nothing could surprise me anymore. But we drivers were always wrong about that. The real danger doesn't come from accidents or weather or even highway robbers. It comes from the things you can't explain. The things that make you question every second you ever spend alone in that dark. It was on August 9 in Memphis, 2021. The time was around 1:17 a.m. The fatigue was a heavy weight on my eyelids. The air so hot and muggy that Cab CC had given up the fight. I pulled up into a large truck lot next to some warehouses. It was mostly empty. Just a few sleeping rigs here and there, in those yellowish overhead lights flickering occasionally like they were about to die. We drivers get weird habits. Mine was to park in the farthest possible corner of any lot, away from the entrance, away from anybody else. The idea of being boxed in of someone creeping up on me while I slept, that scared me more than anything. I parked my Volvo, set the parking brake and locked every door. Then, because of the heat, I cracked the window. Just a slit, no more than 2 or 3 finger widths. Just enough to let some of the night air in. It was a mistake, but in that moment, it was just a desperate attempt to sleep. I leaned back in the seat, drifting in that space between awake and sleep. The hum from my reefer unit was a steady, soothing drone. Everything was normal, too familiar. Then, I heard the first sound. It wasn't a scream or bang. It was just a rustling, like someone slowly stepping on gravel or dragging something along the ground. I told myself, stray dog, or maybe a bungee cord came loose off someone's trailer. I tried to ignore it, but the sound came again, closer this time. Then came the whispers. I'll never forget them. They were as clear as my voice is right now, but low, like they were coming from under the earth. First voice, rough like sandpaper. Haven't we waited long enough? In second voice replying, sharp and urgent. No, he's still awake. My heart skipped a beat. My brain offered the logical explanation. Drunks! 2 drunk guys arguing in a truck lot. That's the sane answer, right? Make that make sense, bro. But something deep in my gut, that instinct to grow after years on the road, screamed, no, man, this is wrong. I froze, holding my breath. The whispers didn't move away. They were fixed right outside the passenger window like they were standing there staring in through the dark glass. I caught a fragment. Do you think he knows? The gravelly voice replied. I think he's figuring it out. At that point, any logic evaporated. Pure primal fear crept into my veins. I had to see. I had to prove to myself I was imagining things. So, I grabbed my heavy-duty flashlight, swung the driver's door open, and stepped down. My boot in the gravel was deafening in the absolute silence. I swept the light beam everywhere, over the trailer, under the rig, around the support poles, but no one there. The lot was as empty as before. I climbed back in, slammed the door locked, and my hand found the heavy metal tie thumper I always keep it by the seat. My heart at this point was pounding like it wanted out of my chest. I fumbled for my phone, putting up the local police number, and right at that moment, a jolt. Not a huge one, but distinct. Like a heavy person had stepped onto the step behind the cab. Footsteps, but they weren't hurried or sneaky. They were slow and deliberate. Purposeful, like whoever was climbing up didn't care if I heard them. Then, the passenger door handle moved. I heard the metal lock mechanism twist. Again and again, someone was trying to open the door, but I was certain, absolutely positive, I'd locked it. I checked it when I got back in. My internal voice screamed, how? Who? And then I lifted the phone about a hit call when I heard them again. But this time, they weren't from outside. The whispers returned, but now they were directly behind me. From the other side of the thin wall, separating the cab from the sleeper berth, inside my truck. The sharp voice said with terrifying clarity, "He's called the police." The police arrived within 10 minutes. They were professional. They checked everything, walked the perimeter of my rig, and inspected the locks, searched between the other trailers. They found nothing. They found no one at all. Not even a fresh shoe print in the dirt by my door. After the search, the older officer, his look carrying a hint of pity, said, "Sir, I think you're exhausted. Long haul. Your mind can play tricks in these hours." I tried to explain. I tried to describe the whispers, the footsteps, the door handle, but my own words sounded weird even to me. But I had one last hope: the cameras. There was a security camera on a nearby pole, pointing roughly in the direction of my spot. I went to the security guard, a kind enough guy. I explained, and he agreed to pull up the footage. We sat watching the small screen, the grainy video. At first, there was nothing. Just me, just my rig sitting quietly in the corner. Then, around 1:20 a.m., they appeared. Two figures moved from the shadows of the warehouse, walking directly toward the rear of my trailer. Their gait was off. Not hesitant, but not purposeful either. Like they were drifting. They paused at the back of the trailer for a moment, then they turned. They turned and faced the camera. At this point, a chill went through me. Their faces weren't clear. They weren't wearing masks or hiding them. No, the footage just went completely blurry around their faces. Like a glitch, but the rest of the shot was fine. They were like entities made of dense fog. The security guard muttered, That's weird. The camera's fine." Then came the thing that froze my blood. After turning, they continued walking, straight toward the locked rear door of the steel trailer. And they didn't stop. They kept walking. And the moment they made contact with the door, they passed through it. They didn't open it. They didn't try. Their fog, like bodies, simply dissolved through the steel as if were certain of smoke disappearing inside. A long silence. The guard pulled his cigarette from his mouth and stared at the screen. Finally, he said, "What the hell did I just watch?" I didn't answer. I had no answer. All I knew was that what I heard, what I felt, was real, and it had been inside my trailer the whole time. I didn't wait. As soon as it was cleared to leave, I climbed into the cab, fired up the engine, and got the hell out of Memphis. My heart, at this point, was still slamming against my ribs. I started to relax a little as the city lights faded, trying to convince myself it was over. Then, my CB radio tracked alive. Usually, it's static, or maybe a distant conversation between drivers. But this time, there was just one voice, slightly distorted, but perfectly clear. It was that same gravelly voice from the law. It said slowly and clearly, as if whispering right into my ear, "Next time, don't crack your window." At this time, a violent shiver went through me. How did it know? How did it know that one small detail? The only person who knew I'd cracked the window was me. Only me, on God. And then, I switched the radio off with a trembling hand, but the words settled in my skull. They'd been there the whole time? They'd been listening? And they know that tiny cracked window was all they needed? Wow. Oh my God. 2 months later, after that night, I sold the rig. I couldn't sit in it again. Every shadow, every unfamiliar sound from the engine reminded me of them. I became obsessed with security. Now, before I sleep in any lot, I check every door, every window, every seam. I seal them all. It's my nightly ritual, but it doesn't matter. Because the real fear isn't from burglars or thieves anymore. Nah, man. The real fear is knowing there are things, entities, that can be there with you without needing an open door or a cracked window. They can within the shadows cast by your own headlights or In the silence that follows, turned off the engine. I still pass through Memphis sometimes in roads, but I never stop. And I always feel, in those moments across the city limits, the strange coldness crawl up my spine, like an invisible lens is focusing on me from somewhere in the dark. I learned the lesson that doesn't fade. Only sometimes, when the long, dark road, you're not alone. And the voices you hear might not be in your head. They might be sitting in the back seat, just waiting for you to look over. Or they might be on the other end of the radio, knowing every little habit you have, reminding you that safety is just an illusion we create so we can sleep. And the window, no matter how well you seal it, is always cracked just enough to let the fear. If you like the story, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and never forget to support the channel. So, thanks for listening, and by the way, you can also watch another amazing horror story from here. See y'all in the next story, and stay safe out there. Cheers.